Okay, this is for a Jeep CJ7. I was looking on YouTube for a while and really couldn't find any mechanisms or videos to talk about how the different pedal assembly worked. And since it's almost impossible, every reference you see online to changing anything under the steering wheel, because remember the steering wheel is going to go right here. So it's blocking everything. So to try to get up there and adjust anything, adjust the springs, even changing out the master cylinder is a bit of a pain, but that's more doable. It's a little bit more accessible. And certainly the adjustment or replacement of the parking brake. So this is an aftermarket parking brake. I guess a previous owner, I'm sure that that's aftermarket. Any kind of adjustment there, if your brake lights are always staying on, it's not being engaged, that sort of thing. So what I wanted to do is do kind of a quick video, hopefully a quick video, of sort of how this thing works. So let's talk a little bit about it. Again, there's lots of pictures online, but I didn't see really any videos. So let me walk through a couple of these pieces. So this is the brake pedal right here. So this thing has been cleaned up, sandblasted, and powder coated, so I'm pretty happy with that. So you can see the brake pedal here, and let's talk about the mechanism there. So that's all working off this one pivot right here. So you can kind of see that as you're pressing the brake lever, this whole mechanism changes. And here's the master cylinder push rod. The master cylinder push rod is just held in by this cotter pin and a washer. And I think the wave washer went there. I'm pretty sure it went there. After it all came out, it all got a little bit disheveled. But that all goes right there. I'll hold that off for right now. So if you need to change your master cylinder, those are going to be some of the pieces that come right off there. And again, it's relatively accessible when you get in there. You can kind of pull that off to the side and slide that off. So that's that, the master cylinder. Here is the spring. Now the spring here, you can kind of see how it attaches underneath there. I'll give it a little bit closer up right here. So you're going to have to reach up underneath and pull this back if you can get your hand around it, or take a screwdriver from underneath and push it out. Or you can try, if you have enough leverage, to pull it off here. I mean, this is a tight spring, so it's kind of hard to get off. This is actually a replacement spring. Here's my old one right here. I had to modify it because I had some adjustment issues, but it's much bigger. I went to Ace Hardware, and I'll post a link to what I bought here in the comments or in the bottom description. So this spring here, it felt like it was the right length. I think it was a 6-inch length, and it's about the right tension. So, and I feel like that gives it pretty good action there. I did have to cut this piece right here because it was too long. It looped way down here. And if I'm going to service it in the future and I reach under there, I want to be able to get that hook off there. So I got that right there. It's hooked right there, and that, again, that just kind of pulls it. So notice that this little lever right here, this is the brake light lever or engagement lever or whatever you want to call it. And so there's a little piece here that snaps in. So that snaps in, and this is the adjustment. This is actually threads. I've read some online that said that this is just rib, but that's actually a 1/2-inch thread. Pretty sure that's a 1/2-inch thread. I'll go over this in another video too. Yeah, that's a 1/2-inch thread. So, or actually it's a 1/2-inch fine thread. So what this does is it puts a little pressure on it and just kind of snap. You can kind of see. So if you're making adjustments, you can kind of see that comes down and hits that lever. So it's going to engage that lever there, or the switch. And this thing snaps in and out. So you can pull it out or you can twist it out. It's got little nubbins on the side here. That's where the electrical attachment goes in there. So that just snaps right off. And so that just goes right in there. And so if that gets too far, if your brake is stopping there and your switch is only going to there, you got that gap there, so it's not going to get engaged. So this is a negative. So when it's off there, the brake lights are on. So you can kind of see that your brake lights are always going to stay on. I actually had this issue myself, where my battery ran out because I didn't realize that the brake lights were still on because it wasn't adjusted properly. So you may have to reach under there and kind of push this forward and slide it until it gets engaged and it's actually snapped down when it's you have the brake level release. Again, the spring here pulls it back and engages that and keeps it open or closed, whatever that is. Anyway, the brake lights are off when it's like that. So that's the brake pedal, and then over here is the clutch mechanism. So right here, kind of see there's a big spring right here, and it's a really tight spring. In fact, this is the original. It's actually not in too bad a shape. It has a little bit of wear right in there, and a little bit of wear right on this end here. I might actually use this. Again, I haven't decided. I'm sure it goes like that. But I bought this, again, this was about the right tension, the right distance, and had the right orientation, which is very important of the hooks. See, they're 90 degrees offset from each other on the two ends. But anyway, this has a spring mechanism. There's a stop right here. There's a rubber piece on there. I don't know where you even find that piece. Mine is, I just turned mine around, and so it's kind of spring actuated there. It's got that, and for some reason it's, yeah, I guess that just keeps you from pushing it down too far. I don't really know. Anyway, so that's some of the basics for how this works. So again, so in the spring, you're trying to do that, and if you're trying to pull the pedals out or anything, there's really no way. I don't really know a way. It's a pretty simple mechanism. There's a nut here, and then there's a spring clip right here, and so this whole thing just kind of slides out. There are needle bearings in there, so be careful when you pull that out. You want to make sure that you keep track of them. You can pull those needle bearings out. I pulled mine out before I sandblasted, and obviously in powder coated, when you put it in the oven, all the grease holding the needle bearings in is going to get very liquefied and make a big mess. So make sure you pull that out and clean it out really well, and outgas before you try to powder coat this main housing right here with the needle bearings. I think that's about it. Again, when you get under there, it's almost impossible to reach your hands. You got the steering column right here. You have a couple of different brackets in the front that hold this to the dashboard up here, and it's almost impossible. So again, if you need to replace this, kind of feel your way around there. You can make this adjustment. You can pull this off from underneath there. So yeah, that's about it. I'm going to make another video on more options for adjusting the actual brake switch here, because I had a lot of issues with that, but I'll post that in a separate video. So hopefully that's helpful.